So you're starting a business in Nepal, right? Well, one of the first and honestly, one of the biggest decisions you're going to face is should you set up as a private or a public company? It's a choice with huge consequences. The choice between private limited and public limited will literally define your company's entire future. We're talking about how you raise money, who gets to control your vision, and the rule book you have to play by. Get this wrong at the start, and you could seriously limit your growth for years. All right, so here's our game plan to make this decision a whole lot easier. First, we'll define what these two paths actually are. Then we'll get into the core trade-offs: capital, control, and compliance. After that, we've got a quick 7-question test for you. We'll look at some real-world examples and common traps, and finally, we'll boil it all down to the final takeaway. Okay, let's kick things off with the absolute basics. You have to understand that under Nepali law, private limited and public limited aren't just fancy labels. They're legal statuses that come with some very real, very different rules. First up, the private limited company. The two words you really need to remember here are privately held and restricted. This whole structure is designed for a smaller, tight-knit group of owners. Think of it like a members-only club or a closed circle. And then you've got its counterpart, the public limited company. This one is totally different. It can throw its doors wide open and offer shares to the general public. Now that gives you access to a massive pool of money, but, and this is a big but, it comes with way, way stricter oversight. Okay, now we're getting to the real meat of it. The entire debate between these two company types really just boils down to 3 critical things: capital, control, and compliance, the 3 C's. So let's talk shareholders. Who actually gets to own a piece of your company? For a private company, you can have as few as 1 shareholder or as many as 101. That's your maximum. The structure is specifically designed to keep the decision-making in a small, trusted group. Now flip that completely on its head for a public company. You have to start with at least 7 shareholders, and the upper limit? Well, there is no upper limit, it's unlimited. This structure is built for massive, widespread ownership, potentially with thousands of investors. Okay, what about the cash you need just to open the doors? For a private company, the typical minimum paid-up capital, that's the real money you have to deposit into the company's bank account, is 100,000 rupees. It's a pretty accessible entry point for most startups. Ready for a jump? For a public company, that minimum skyrockets to 10 million rupees. That's 100 times higher. And why so much? Simple. When you're asking the public for their money, the regulators want to make sure your company is serious, stable, and has enough of its own skin in the game. So let's just lay it all out, side by side. On the private side, everything is about control and speed. Fewer owners, tougher to sell shares. That means you can move fast. Perfect for a startup, right? The public side, that's all about raising huge amounts of cash from anyone and everyone. But that comes with a mountain of rules. Ultimately, it's that simple. You're choosing between flexibility and scale. All right, enough theory. This is where it gets personal. We've got a 7-question litmus test for you, straight from the source material. Answer these honestly for your own business, and you'll have a much, much clearer idea of where you fit. Question number 1, and it's a big one: how much money are you going to need and when? If you look at your business plan and see a need for tens of millions of rupees in the next 3 to 5 years, then going public might not be a choice, it might be a necessity. Next up, what industry are you in? Because if you're in a field where public trust is absolutely everything, think banking, insurance, or big infrastructure like hydropower, being a public company sends a powerful message of transparency and stability. It can be a huge advantage. Okay, question 3 is the soul-searching one. Are you, as a founder, truly okay with trading some of that precious control and or privacy for a bigger pot of cash? Because going public means your business becomes an open book, and you'll have to answer to a lot of shareholders. Number 4 is a gut check on your capabilities. Do you have the team and the systems in place for some serious corporate governance? We're talking independent directors, formal audit committees. It's a whole different operational ballgame. You have to be ready for it. And you guessed it, that level of governance isn't free. So question 5 is about the cost. Are you prepared for higher recurring compliance fees and constant public reporting? This isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing expense in both time and money. Question 6. Let's think about your investors for a second. If you plan to bring in professional investors like venture capitalists, they're not signing up for life. They need an exit, a way to sell their shares and cash out. A public company provides that easy exit through the stock market, making your company way more attractive to them. And last question, number 7. What kind of business are you actually building? Is it something that just eats up cash up front? Think factories, power plants, huge telecom networks. For those kinds of capital-heavy models, the public markets are often the only place you'll find the kind of funding you need to get off the ground. Okay, so you've gone through the questions. Now let's ground all this theory in some real-world examples and talk about the traps that you absolutely want to avoid. Here are 3 classic mistakes we see all the time. First, thinking too small. You pick private because it's easy now, but completely forget you'll need big money later. Second, underestimating the beast. You go public for the cash, but have no idea how much compliance will cost you. And the third trap, and this one gets everybody, not having a rock-solid shareholder agreement. No matter which path you choose, that's just asking for trouble. Let's make this crystal clear with some quick examples. A software startup with a couple of founders? Go private. You need to be fast and keep control. A massive hydropower project? You'll almost certainly need to go public to raise that kind of capital. And a family-owned retail chain that's growing steadily? Staying private keeps things simple and firmly in the family's hands. So, as we bring this all home, it really comes back to this one fundamental choice. Are you building for speed, flexibility, and tight control? Or are you aiming for massive scale and tapping into the public's capital? The choice depends on your business size, your growth ambitions, and your capacity to handle the rules. It's not about a right or wrong answer for everyone. It's about the right answer for you, for your business and your vision. So the only question left is, which path is yours?